Hi everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and I am sitting in front of what to many people looks like a very depressing scene. A dead garden. Now we are solidly frozen in this section of the garden because these were all tomatoes and basil and things like that that are very frost sensitive. But while in some ways it might look a little depressing, it certainly signals the end of our summer growing season for our fragile plants. It's actually a look to the future too, because it's time to collect seeds. Now what I do is I save containers. This was probably a pre-made soup that we bought at a big box store. We got some yogurt, and I'll use these to collect seeds in the garden. Now the reason I'm using this kind of container is because I want it to be open on the top and have time to breathe for a while. It also makes it super easy to collect. Some people use paper bags, and I have too in the past. For certain kinds of plants, it's easier sometimes to just scoop the whole top in and throw it into the paper bag and let it dry there, especially if we do the poppies. But we actually did not get to harvest poppy seed this year because our poppies didn't do really very well because we just had such an incredibly dry season. And usually we get 2 flushes of blooms. We get one in the spring, and then after monsoon season, which is say July, August, September, we'll get another flush. So normally right now we would still have a lot of poppies blooming. We do have some poppy plants, but nobody's blooming. And it's because we haven't had any rain. Our rainfall, according to the weather station that we have sitting right over there, for the month of October was 0. It was also so far 0 for November. August and July were not much better, and those are usually our months where we get our rain. So at any rate, I am still going to harvest. And in the bed behind me, I have basil. All I'm going to do is sort of strip off those little bits there on each one of these spikes. And I have to do it a little gently because they can be a little prickly. But after I get a few of them, and I have to decide how many because I have enough here to plant half of Arizona and basil, I think. We have had very good luck in the past with basil plants, both self-seeded and purposefully seeded from seed that we have saved. They do stick your finger sometimes, like that one just did. But these are nice and dry. As I said, we haven't had any rain for a while, so I don't have to worry about these having a lot of moisture in them. And it is sort of amazing how prickly they can be. And I'm not going to worry if I drop a few. I'm sure there's already some that have fallen. I can always transplant them. Basil transplants pretty well. And usually, to be honest, unless they get, I suppose they could get invasive. Where I live, if you don't water it, it doesn't grow. There are very few plants that I worry about severely being invasive here. Now that whole thing just broke off, so I'm just going to slide my hand up like that and peel all these off. Now, just glancing around a little bit today, I know that I have basil seeds, I have marigolds, I have bachelor buttons. I might try the zinnias. I have never had great luck with the zinnias, and I do need to check to make sure that the zinnias I'm collecting from are not hybrids, because if they're F1s, they're not going to breed true. I was very pleased with the zinnias that I grew this year in terms of the quality of the flowers and how long they would last when I cut them for interior use. I really like flowers in the house in the summertime. If you deadhead those zinnias that I had this year, they just really keep going. I'm going to take a look at that and see if they're hybrids. If they're not, I'll just harvest some of those and see. And then I'm going to do what the Brits call chitting. Sometime this spring, I will actually try sprouting some of them on a wet paper towel. And if they sprout, awesome, I'll use them. If they don't, I'll just buy seeds. But you can see just from this little bit of work I did here that I've obviously got a few seeds in here. And now I'm going to move over to this big patch over here and harvest some more. I thought I'd collect a whole stack of these this year because I must know somebody out there in YouTube land who'd like to have some seeds. And this is Genovese Basil. It breeds true. It's an heirloom type plant. And we've had some in the garden almost every year for many years now. I honestly don't know how many. Because we really like it in our Caprese salads in the summertime. For those who don't know what a Caprese salad is, you take fresh basil, you julienne it, and you sprinkle it over freshly sliced ripe tomatoes that are warm from the garden, and you top the whole thing with good quality extra virgin olive oil, some good quality balsamic vinegar, just a little bit because balsamic is strong, then some fresh mozzarella cheese. And that is absolutely heavenly. And you can make quite an elegant plate with it by laying out your cheese and your tomatoes and whatnot and drizzling the balsamic and the olive oil around on it. But it's just, I think of it as kind of the quintessential flavor of summer. And it's just wonderful. And I know people who like to make basil pestos and all kinds of stuff. This is just an incredibly prolific type plant that is usually very easy to start. I'm probably propagating 1 million of them just by doing this. And when I get done collecting all I'm going to collect, I'll put this container someplace where the cat can't knock it over, because she has been known to be curious about what's in a container before. And I'll process them. Now, processing in this case just means taking out the extra trash that's in there. I'm getting a lot more than just the seeds when I do this. I'm also getting a lot of the rest of the flour that was around the seed. See, that's what it looks like when I take it off the plant. It's kind of this messy little bit. If I smush this, see those little black things there? Those are the actual seeds. Now, I blew a little too hard, but if I blow carefully, I wind up with just the seeds. And you can do a combination of pushing the stuff around and blowing carefully and wind up with just the seeds. So those are what the basil seeds actually look like when you've got them all cleaned up. Now, these are my bachelor buttons, and I can see they do still have seeds in them. Let me bring one in close so that you can see. There we go. That's what it looks like sitting there. But when I peel this with my finger, this fuzz in the middle actually has seeds at the base. Now, doing this outside is probably a little treacherous, because if the breeze comes along, I'm going to have seeds everywhere. But I think you can see there's a seed and there's one. So I'm actually probably just going to pick the heads on these, and I'll handle this inside where I'm less likely to have it blow all over the yard. And not all these have seeds to them. Some of them have already lost their seeds. They may have been eaten by birds, they may have just fallen. But all I'm going to do is pick the seed heads on these. And I know they're viable. They may or may not be as viable as ones that come from a fancy seed store, but these reseed themselves every year. I see no reason why they wouldn't be totally reasonable for other people. You might need to plant a couple more than you need to get your full complement, but whether you start your seeds indoors or whether you just sprinkle them into a bed and let them go, these guys have been sprinkling themselves around my yard for quite a few years, These are mostly blue, but we do occasionally get pink or white ones. I don't know whether these are going to be pink, white, or blue. That's kind of like, it's kind of like Christmas. You don't know what's in that package until it opens. That doesn't bother me. These are beautiful. They bloom all summer pretty much. I just find them incredibly cheerful. These were not even watered this year. The watering is out in this section of the bed, but it is not all the way out here. Despite having a terribly dry season, these guys still manage to bloom for a good bit of the summers. I've had them literally seed and bloom out in the pathway many times. So anyway, lots and lots of marigold seeds, thousands literally. And I'll be running around the yard and seeing what else I can figure out here. I probably missed a few things. I didn't expect to find those dianthus seeds, but man, I have a ton of them. So that's very cool because I love it. I love dianthus. They're incredibly tough perennials that come back every year, despite the gophers. So, hope you're inspired. If you like what you saw here today, please hit that like button. If you think you'd be interested in watching us to see what other kind of crazy stuff we're doing, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notifications when we do other crazy stuff. So until next time, keep on growing and have fun. Bye. I'm watching the cat here, making sure she's not going to try and catch a birdie. Nope, there's no birdies over there. Okay. It's never dull when you have cats and dogs around. Anyway.